I am unbothered, hydrated, and moisturized. How many of you are unbothered, hydrated, and moisturized? Thank you for being here. My name is Bennett. We're going to talk about cracking the code on sponsorship. You probably saw the introduction, which was how to raise, I think I said $25,000 in sponsorship. We're going to walk through that quickly. And why are you going to do that? You're going to do it for your DevFest. This is our DevFest, DevFest YYC. How many people are familiar or have heard of DevFest YYC? Yes, and tattoos. Yes, if you'd like a tattoo, we can get you a tattoo later. Thank you. So DevFest YYC, I just wanted to run through a little bit about DevFest YYC in case you are unfamiliar with some of the headlines. And the reason for that is because we're going to talk about sponsoring what this looks like. So we had 700 developers, data scientists, architects, operators. We had 70, actually it wasn't quite 70, it was more like 55, somewhere in there. We had 7 tracks, and we had 2 venues, and then we had an awesome after party. It's actually called Nocturnal by Neo, which was the name of a company that sponsored it. And it was a great time, really, really great time. We had the Google Cloud Partner of the Year for Canada as one of our sponsors. We had Red Bull as a sponsor. They did a number of really cool things. Okay, and you know, it all contributed to this idea of making our DevFest more festival, more fun, which is what we're always trying to get done. Now, it's not just me saying it was awesome. The attendees and the speakers also thought it was rad. So there's that. And also the speakers thought that it was a great time as well. And it was awesome to have a diversity and inclusion track as well, which went really, really well. Thanks to Sherry for organizing all of that. So we're talking about sponsorship here. What's interesting about sponsorship is it doesn't start from zero. We didn't start where we are today, just so everyone's aware of that. In 2017, I remember being on social media and seeing DevFest New York City. Who runs DevFest New York City? Yeah, and at the time, I believe they were running, it was about 700 people. I saw that online. I thought, that's really cool. That sounds amazing. That'd be really cool to do someday. However, in 2018, we ran a DevFest, and that DevFest had about 70 people and cost us about $2 grand. Does anyone identify with that? Who has a small DevFest that is, you know, under 100 people, not very, very expensive at all? Put your hands up or yell or scream. Okay. So that's a starting place. It's an excellent place to be. We had a great time, right? It served as a foundation. In 2019, we ran another DevFest, total sponsorship as well as total in-kind. So when I say sponsorship, there's 2 types of sponsorship, which I'll talk about in a second. About $45,000, and we had about 330 people. So who is in that sort of range of potential DevFests? Yeah, go. Yep. There we go. That's awesome. Let's give them a round of applause. That's amazing. And our DevFest this year was about $150,000 total in kind. Keep in mind, in kind is not money, and actual cash sponsorship. Okay? And so we had about 700 people. So you can see things get more expensive the bigger you get, and they get harder to deliver on. Okay? And the point here is that DevFest is definitely extra. The different things that you can do, and to make it really special, it takes a lot of things. It takes a lot of sponsorship. It takes a lot of volunteer. It takes a lot of hours, a lot of thinking. Okay? In this case, obviously we're talking about sponsorship, so let's work through how we're going to get that sponsorship sorted out. In-kind sponsorship. I want to cover this because it's important. Many people think that when they're going out for sponsorship, the only thing to get is cash, and that's really important. We're going to talk about that in a second. But just to be very clear, in-kind sponsorship is part of how you get a DevFest delivered as well. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, but just to be clear, venue, speakers, travel, food, media swag, audio, visual, and software software being like free credits, software being like different tools that people are allowed to use for some period of time. All those things are important, and they add to your DevFest. So don't forget about them, and definitely go out and find people who are willing to give you those things. And the nice thing about that, again, it adds different complexity or different layers to your DevFest, all those in-kind things. So don't forget about them. Obviously, Google shows up with the Google Developer Experts, sometimes Women Tech Makers, sometimes mentors. That's all in-kind sponsorship. They're paying for those speakers to be there to make your DevFest awesome. OK, but cash slays. Cash allows you to have more fun. The other great thing about it is things cost money. And when you want to do fun things, they often cost more money. And so it's great. Cash is awesome because you also get to decide how it's spent and allocated. That's one of the benefits. It's a lot more flexible. Sometimes in-kind is not as flexible because they say, this is what I'm going to give you, and that's sort of what it is. Okay? The other thing is that when you start to scale up, no one wants to be in a position where they're upside down on their DevFest. Upside down meaning they're taking money out of their bank account that they personally put in their bank account to fund a DevFest. That's not going to be a fun position to be in, and I don't want that for any of you, and we haven't had that happen so far, so that's very good. And so obviously, the bigger you get, the more money is involved, the more potential for that happening is. Okay? So what is sponsorship? Sponsorship is organizations providing funding for the opportunity that you are giving them to connect with your audience or community. This is really important. Oftentimes, we don't think of sponsorship that way. We think of sponsorship from the perspective of, I have a need. I need some money. Can you please give it to me? Right? Anyone fall into that? I need $5,000 to run my DevFest. Can you please give me that $5,000? Right? So I need you to make sure that you keep this in mind. You are giving them an opportunity to access your audience, and that is really, really critical when you get to the next steps in this process of building out your sponsorship proposal. Okay? So just keep that in mind. So this is for setting up between 5 and 5,000K, right? This is a level of sponsorship that you should be able to execute on. Anyone here should be able to execute on. If you're above, say, $50,000 in sponsorship, completely different game. This framework won't work for you. Okay? So the point here is that what you need, and the principles of this particular framework are speed, ease of execution, low approval thresholds, and then easy to pitch. Okay? How does that sound for a framework? Is everyone excited about that? Awesome. Oh yeah, the timeline is a short timeline of 1 to 3 months. So this also works because how many people are organizing their DevFest today? I am. And there's some other people back there, which is awesome. So, but most people organize their DevFest only a few months out. Okay? So that's the other thing about this. Here's your toolkit. I'm not going to talk about intake. Look at it online. Take a picture of this so that you know sort of a little bit of what the framework takes. I'm not going to talk about sponsor discovery. There are questions you can ask sponsors to get to know them, to understand them. This is really important, but I don't have time to talk about it because I only have like another, how many minutes? 16, 15? I have another 9 minutes. OK. Budget, audience data, personas. I'm going to focus on that, and then a little bit about what will be in your proposal related to this. OK? First thing, budget's really easy. Budget is really, really easy. You're going to take a list. You're going to add up all your expenses. You're going to minus any source of revenue that you might have. Let's say you sell some tickets for $5 or $10 or $20 or however much. Okay? That's going to be your base starting point. You're going to times that by 1.1. That's your need, right? So let's say it's, you know, $24,000 is all of your costs, right? Total times by 1.1 might be $27,000, somewhere in there. Okay? That's easy. So that's budget. That's all I'm going to talk about with budget. Figure it out. Go get someone who has an MBA in budget. Audience data. This is like I said in the very first part, audience data is your flex. Sponsors do not care about a lot of things. Okay? The reason why audience data is your flex is because it makes you stand out to sponsors. Okay? It's the only reason why your DevFest appeals to sponsors. Okay? It's the only thing keeping your sponsorship proposal from going straight in the trash. Okay? And it's how you'll identify, the sponsor will identify if you are the right person to sponsor, and it's also how you'll identify if they're the right sponsor to be sponsoring. Okay? Most organizers have zero audience data that they provide to their sponsors. Okay? So just remember that, stand out from the crowd, get some audience data. We're going to talk about that briefly. Audience data sources. You know your audience. And so past events, mailing lists, your social followers, your research that you can do on Google, observe similar events, use your intuition. Audience data is an art and a science, and it can be both. So don't get stuck if you have a lack of data. You know what the makeup of your community is. Use Gemini, use AI Sandbox, use a whole bunch of other tools to come up with some audience data about a community like yours. Okay? It needs to be reasonably close. It doesn't need to be perfect. You're going to take all that audience data, you're going to distill it down into a persona. Okay? You're going to take everything you know about your community, and a persona is just the type of person that attends your DevFest. Okay? You're going to distill it down to about 7 key words. Here's ours. We help our sponsors connect with developers driving technical decisions for their enterprises and startups. Very simple. This is crack for sponsors. Am I allowed to say that? I'm not sure. Anyways, it is. Point is that it's very much something that sponsors care about. They care. At least in my world, every sponsor I've ever talked to, they want to connect to people making decisions. Okay? Oftentimes. Okay. The thing that you do not do is say our audience is every developer. You want to get to the point where you're starting to segment your audience so that you can stand apart from every other meetup out there. You want to be as specific and concrete as possible. Okay? It's kryptonite to say no one markets to everybody. Google doesn't market to everybody, right? Like no one markets to Pepsi doesn't market to everybody. They have a specific market that they're looking at. So don't do that. Don't say my audience is every developer, so therefore I've got 10,000 people that are in my city and you can market to all of them. That's not the case. Okay, inventory. So what do we usually do for inventory? I'll tell you what we do. We usually have a tiered inventory, right? We have gold, silver, bronze, graphene, interstellar, desert. Like we come up with these tiered inventories and they're amazing, right? They're awesome. There are a bunch of places that we're going to stick the sponsor's logo. And we're going to stick that logo everywhere. We're going to stick it on the emails. We're going to tattoo it on our arms. Right? And we're going to stick it on the backdrop. We're going to stick it on the floor. We're going to, I don't know, put it in our retinas. Okay? And for that, we're going to charge the sponsor. Correct. And then our next tier of sponsorship, we're going to move up and we're going to add even more logos. Right? And we're going to take all those logos and we're going to stick them in more places, in even bigger places. And we're going to charge our sponsor $100 million. Okay? And then our third tier, we're going to add even more logos and bigger ones. And we're going to put them in for $1 billion. So the thing I want you to remember here is that logos and logo placement are low rent assets. Email blasts are low rent assets. Your sponsor probably doesn't care that their logo is in all these places. Why? They are trying to access your audience, not have their logo everywhere. This is a key shift to make. Is that fair? Everyone get me on that? It's a key shift to make that you need to find ways to get them to access your audience. And we're going to give you the way to do that in 4 minutes. The way to do that is activation. So say it with me. Activations. Okay, no, louder. Activations. So we're going to switch from logos, email blasts, more logos to activations. And what are we going to do? How are we going to do that? This is the framework. You're going to give your sponsor 3 opportunities, 3 different types of activations. One of them is storytelling. One of them is a way for them to grow their leads. And the third one is a way for them to have your audience sample their product, whatever that is. Okay? Storytelling. Main stage session, for instance, to tell about their brand story and create a connection with the audience. Keep in mind, branding is not a logo. Branding is a logo with a story. Okay, so you're giving them an opportunity to share their story. Maybe it's a problem that they're solving. Maybe it's something about their company. Don't give them an hour to do that. Okay? Don't do that. Give them some discrete period of time to tell their story. So, second one is growing leads. It's very easy to run a contest, right? How many people are familiar with Lego? Maybe they go and buy a Lego set. That's really cool. Maybe it's the 1980s Voltron Lego set, which is out of commission right now, right? And they go and buy that, and they say to your people, come to our booth and sign up, and we're going to give out this set later on. We've given out drones. We've given out lots of different things. Okay? So they're going to grow their leads that way because now they have access to all those people's emails. People are going to come and sign up for that. Sorry, I need to go back. And the last one is sampling. Providing expertise. Yeah, thank you. Providing expertise or software and trying it out. So for instance, a company might have some platform that they want your users to try. Set up a little booth for them, have them come in and try it out. Guess who does this? Google does this. Okay, and the reason Google does this, has anyone used the cloud platform for learning? Sorry, I'm blanking on it. Quick Labs before, right? Skills Boost, yes, thank you, sorry. Skills Boost, what is that? It's sampling. You're sampling the Google product, getting to know it a little bit better, and deciding if you want to keep on using it. Some people walk away and they don't use it. Lots of people keep on using it. So that's sampling. And then what we're going to do is pick one of the three above the line. Below the line, you're going to give your sponsors all these things, all these low rent things. They don't have to be the things on here. They can be whatever you want them to be. But then you just say, everyone gets those. All the sponsors get those. So you stop worrying about this logos thing and where their logos are going to be and coordinating all that crap. You just put it all in. Okay? Very easy to run. Go back to your budget. You're going to sell 3 of each of these. Okay? 3 of each of these. So 3 storytelling, 3 growing leads, 3 samplings. Okay? You're going to have 9 total activations. How does that sound? Can you do that? Everyone could probably sell 3 of each of these. All right? They don't compete with each other. They don't overlap with each other. We'll run 3 of each. Okay? How are we going to price this? Now we got to figure out how we're going to make that $27,000. Super easy. All we're going to do is going to take our budget and divide it by 9. And then that's how much your activation is. So I need $27,000 divided by 9. Guess what? The cost of that is $3,000. How many people think that if they pitched a sponsor in this way, that the sponsor would say yes? And I'm going to tell you why they're going to say yes. Because the person that you're talking to likely has the ability to pull out their credit card and approve that on the spot, if it sounds good. If it's helping them connect to the audience that they want to connect to. If your persona matches up with what they want. Okay? So you're not going to get into a complex, multi-month sales process. You're not going to be asking their manager for approval. They can probably, in most cases, approve it on the spot. So that's how you get 9 of them. Okay? So this is it again. $3,000. Take one of the things above the line, and you get all the things below the line. This really appeals to people. They don't like, again, as soon as you say take them all, they're like, okay, cool. Everyone else is trying to sell me on these tiers. You're actually giving me something of value that I need. I can tell you how many sponsors have said, hey, can you share your email list from the event? Well, I'll give you an opportunity to do that. Okay? That's it. That's all. Okay, I don't have time for questions. I'm really sorry, but catch me outside in the hallway, and I think the slides are there at Cracking the Code, so take a picture of that, and then let's talk, and we are good. Thank you so much for being here.